Listen, I definitely have the flu. I've been trying to kick this for like the past 5 days. So you're just gonna have to bear with my voice today, but we're gonna do something that's gonna make me feel a lot better, which is listen to Fletcher's sophomore album, In Search of the Antidote.
So, a bit of background about how I started listening to Fletcher's music. I came out in the beginning of 2022, and it was around then that I was having my first queer dating experience. When that situation ended, I was devastated, and I asked my friends for some sapphic song and artist recommendations to get me through the end of that situation. One of my friends recommended Fletcher, and Bitter ended up becoming the song that got me through that first queer heartbreak. By the time her debut album, Girl of My Dreams, came out in the fall of 2022, I was hooked on her music. Even though I currently make vlogs about my 20-something life living in Washington, D.C., I still want to make it a tradition to react to Fletcher's projects when they're released, just because her music has really helped me grow into this current version of myself. All right, enough chit-chat. Let's get into the track list.
This feels weird to be sitting down to film a video all in one go instead of filming a vlog, but looking at the track list, I am really intrigued by what we're seeing. There's 3 songs that I've already heard on here: Doing Better, Lead Me On, and Eras of Us. I've also heard little snippets of Two Things Can Be True and Pretending on like Instagram Reels. I think Two Things Can Be True. I'm especially worried about hitting me in the feels, but just based on titles alone, the 2 songs that I am most intrigued by at this moment are Crush and Joyride. I'm curious to see if they match my expectation. I've seen in a few interviews that Fletcher said she's really leaning into the rock side of her music, so I'm curious if those songs are gonna match that and just like overall what the whole album is gonna sound like. I'm so excited to get into this body of work, and it's just really great to have another album from her. All right, before my voice gives out, let's kick this off with track number 1, Maybe I Am.
Here I fucking go again.
Really? Okay. Ah!
You say that I'm a crazy bitch. You say I'm ruining my life.
Okay, I love this.
It's just because I can. Maybe I am.
Okay.
Maybe I am.
I'm already overwhelmed.
Maybe I am.
Oh, I love just the drums right there. Come on, girls.
You say I'm ruining
Yep, and then quiet it down.
purpose just because I can. Maybe I am.
That was such an impressive start. Wow. Obviously, the Maybe I Am and Doing Better song titles kind of flow together, but I actually feel like they're so interconnected, but also kind of the antithesis of each other. Maybe I Am it feels more rebellious of like, screw what everyone else is saying. And then from what I know of Doing Better and listening to that single, proving the world wrong and being successful isn't actually like what better looks like. I guess I keep going. I wish I could just go back and like listen to that one again. That was nuts. Okay.
Drove you so far away. It's like I went and dropped you off at her house. Then it feels worse. Your girlfriend never thanked me for making her go viral. Fuck it, I'm her idol. I get sad and spiral. What is better, feel worse?
Hearing Maybe I Am and then this, it's like, yeah, she's definitely leaning into the rock stuff. And I love this for her. I actually feel like her voice really meshes with that genre really well. After listening to that one in the sequence of the album, I'm actually curious if a lot of these songs are going to reflect the same kind of structure that Maybe I Am and Doing Better do, in the sense that there's a lot of like build up and then at the very end of the song there's a quick come down. So let's get into track number 3, Ego Talking.
90% of the time, I'd say I'm
This was not the sound I expected for this song. Huh.
Never love anybody else, right?
That's the sound I was expecting.
Talking. I'm happy for you.
What are we doing here?
Just like
What are you doing? This is nuts.
and you'll never love anybody else, right?
That's a song I can definitely relate to, in the sense of like when someone ends things with you and you kind of have an understanding that they weren't ready for what you were bringing to the table, and you're like, why am I the one getting rejected when I have so much to offer? But at the end of the day, there's so much ego involved in that reaction. So track number 4 is Lead Me On, which I've already heard, but obviously we like Lead Me On a lot, so we're gonna jam out.
The thought of you is torture, but your heart is constantly running, just never told me. So why don't you just leave me on? A little something is better than nothing.
That song is such a cathartic moment. I love it. And then the little guitar at the end. This song I always found really interesting, like when it was released as a single, because obviously the lyrics can read so much like you're talking to a person, specifically like a love interest. But I've seen her go on Instagram Live and she's talked about how this song is kind of, I think for her, more about her future self kind of leaving her breadcrumbs as to like where to find the answers that she's looking for in her life. She's talked about the antidote being women, or performing, or writing really petty music, you know, like it's been all these things, but like what is it ultimately going to be for her? It's really interesting to listen to it within like the full spectrum of the album. Okay, this is the song I've been dreading based on the snippet that I've seen on Instagram. Let's just do it.
Should I have gotten involved? No, but did I like it every time we touched?
Ooh.
Yeah, it hurts, it makes you happier.
He makes you happier?
Always wanted happier.
No.
That for you too. Things can be true. He can love you, baby, and baby, I can too.
Damn it.
You can have his body and still think I'm mine too. You can still call me up at night. He can still be the love of your life. You can ignore me in every room too.
We just like entered another universe. What? Not the voice memos. Really?
Things can be true. He can love you, baby, and baby, I can too. Things, they can be true. Everything you said, did you mean it? 'Cause I do.
The classic plight of falling for a straight girl. Clearly, whatever situation that was really wrecked her for a minute emotionally, or maybe for a long time. We don't know. And that is like what I'm reacting to right now. I feel like, this reminds me of like the first heartbreak that I ever went through before I realized I was queer, and like watching my ex-boyfriend move on so quickly after we had broken up. But like this song pulls on all of those heartstrings from like my past experiences, which is exactly what I was afraid of. And I think this kind of song is exactly what I was looking for in terms of kind of switching it up. And it did it just through the drum pattern. It was like so quick, and it built the anxiety and anticipation of the song so easily. It's not what I was expecting at all. And it was actually really refreshing. And then and then this goes right into Heirs of Us.
16 seasons for the rush. Heirs of Us, a story of love. Stealing the air right from my lungs. So what? Lately I've been swinging fists. Oh, I miss the Heirs of Us, a story of love. Stealing the air right from my lungs. Again.
Wonderful as always. Obviously, she's talking about not only the different eras that she had with her ex-girlfriend, but also like the different eras of music that she's had. So Girl of My Dreams, that's obvious. Forever We're Young, I'm trying to like figure out if that's referencing Forever, or if that's referencing Wasted Youth, or if it's referencing both of them. I don't know. If y'all have thoughts or conspiracy theories, leave them down below. I'd be really curious to read them. All right, next is track number 7, Attached to You. We're already like more than halfway through the album, so I'm really curious to see what this back half looks like.
That's why I keep her at a bird's eye view, so she doesn't get attached to you. And I know my dad,
Not the bringing in the family. wrong. And I can't relate. I'm so sorry. That was an interesting ending and a really interesting bridge. Like, the lyrics immediately caught my attention. The rest of the song kind of set up this deep reflection that happens in the bridge of, like, I know myself, this is what I always do. I'd rather, what was the line? I'd rather walk on glass than give someone the opportunity to hurt me. Oy, oy, oy. Which is interesting because she's talking about not wanting to be vulnerable, but in writing those words, like, that feels like a very vulnerable moment. All right, track number 8. This is one I've been really curious about, which is Crush. Ooh, the slow guitar.
Miss all the lies and the secrets, crave it, need it, rip out my guts. Won't you crush me under the weight of your body? You know I'll put you above me. I wanna cry. Crush me. Part of me knows letting you go will crush me. Crush me.
Well, that crushed me. What the hell? Oh my god. This is a feeling I can certainly relate to. I don't know. I have a bad habit of looking past red flags and just being like, give me everything you got. I'll love you regardless, or I'll try to please you regardless. I'll always put you above me. Yeah, that one's gonna hit really hard when I listen back to this album again. Let's move on to Pretending.
1, 2, 3, 4. We're talking
That was cute.
like how you been, as if I'm not what you waited for, like I'm not in your ending. Yeah, for now we'll both keep on pretending. Yeah, for now we'll both keep on pretending.
That extra guitar really like amps it up a ton.
Yeah, for now we'll both keep on. Yeah, for now we'll both.
Yeah, I love. I was gonna say, like, I love the octave change. And then she just took it a whole other level. I liked that. Cool. Wait, like, just in general, falling in love with someone that it's never gonna be reciprocated is just gut-wrenching. But that's, in a way, like, also gave me happy, nostalgic. I'm interpreting that happy kind of vibe as ignorance is bliss. Like, I'm just gonna try to ignore these feelings, be beside this person as much as I can, even though I can't have them, and just enjoy what they can give me, which I think, like, if that interpretation is correct, it's an interesting contrast to the lyrics. We're almost done. We only have 2 more tracks. And this one is Joyride. And this was one that I was really intrigued by just by the title.
We're standing in the kitchen, we just fucked for like 6 hours. Now you're getting in my head. You were in my dreams, now I'm in your bed. I can't just look.
This song is so horny. But I love it. I like that metaphor. Obviously, like, the car metaphor is all over this song. I wasn't expecting that song to be calmer in comparison to the rest of the album, but I actually really like that it was. The idea of a joyride really encapsulates what she was talking about in Attached to You and Crush, in terms of having more of an avoidant attachment style, but also deeply craving, like, love and affection and true connection with somebody. And I think that Joyride just, like, really wrapped up that narrative of this album really well. And obviously some of these lyrics are unhinged, but I love them. And that's part of why I like Carrie's music so much, is she's known for writing in that way. I want to go back and listen to this and see what little things I missed out on the first listen, because I'm sure I did. All right, we've made it to the final track, Antidote. Let's wrap this thing up.
Launch me into your sky.
Ooh. Give me the nostalgia.
You were my
that. Whoa. And that's the album. My reaction to Antidote is it's not like a standout track for me on its own, but it does a really wonderful job of wrapping up the whole project. Overall, I am very excited about this new direction of music from Carrie. I really love the rock influences. I feel like that's something that I really got from the first half of Girl of My Dreams, her debut album. Now seeing like a full-fledged album with all of those influences, it's really cool to see like all of that come to life, and I think she did a great job with it. It's impressive to see her growth, not only like from a vocal standpoint, but also from a mental standpoint of like the mentality that she's approaching music with. Her vulnerability has been something that I think as an artist has really attracted people to her. And it's one of the reasons why I became a fan of her, is because she's not afraid to go there with the song lyrics. But I think this time around, she like wasn't afraid to go there in terms of reflecting on herself and her own habits and like, okay, how do I want to change? Where am I gonna find the antidote now? And I think it was just like a beautiful way to wrap up like what she's been through in the past year or so. This is how I ranked all of the songs on In Search of the Antidote. Let me know if you agree, if you disagree. I always find that when I sit with an album for like 2 or 3 weeks that my ranking fluctuates a lot until that point. So this may not be accurate of like what I think of the album a couple weeks from now, but this is where it stands currently. I'm so happy that I got to record this reaction, and I hope you all like the album as much as I did. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next vlog. Bye.